what, golfers? Vegas isn't just casinos and pool parties. In fact, there are 50 golf courses within a 15-mile radius of the Strip, all boasting beautiful desert oasis landscapes. So, if you're looking for a break from the action, consider hitting the links. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
No one is going to pick Indiana. No one's going to pick Indiana to make it close, honestly. Like, you can't really, you could get tremendous odds if you pick OKC in 7.
I think that taking the series over 5.5 games, the last 2 NBA Finals series ended in 5. I think this one goes 6. I think the Thunder will get the job done, but I think the Pacers are just too strong of a team and too talented of a team and too deep of a team to lose in 5 or fewer games.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
Hello and welcome to a Tuesday live right here on the early line on SportsGrid and all across the SportsGrid network. That includes sportsgrid.com/watch, where you can find your favorite destination to consume everything all across the grid. He is Donnie Rightside. I am Ben Stevens. We are here together for the next 3 hours up until 11 a.m. Eastern time, bright and early on this Tuesday morning to recap all that we saw on a Monday. That included game number 3 of the Stanley Cup Final. For the first time, a change of location in Sunrise, Florida, at the home of the reigning champs, who played like the reigning Stanley Cup champs. We saw chaos in college baseball. 4 seeds forever. My voice so excited it might crack when I talk about Murray State reaching Omaha in the Men's College World Series, and a 9-game slate around the Bigs DRS on a Monday that featured a ton of games into extra innings in some large losing skids for National League contenders, at least we thought, coming to a close on a Monday evening. All of that and plenty more here over these 3 hours up until 11 a.m. Eastern.
It's June 10th, 2025, Ben. What does that mean? It's not June 9th anymore, and soon we'll be on June 11th, which is one step closer to football season. We're almost there. I can absolutely smell it at this point, and I can't wait for it. But until we get there, hockey, do we have a Stanley Cup champion after only 3 games? It could be at this point with the Florida Panthers, as we'll get to, but also Major League Baseball, full coverage today. Weather, temperatures creeping up higher and higher. Some good RBI opportunity across the board. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it. DRS game number 3 last night in that Cup final between the Panthers and the Oilers. The first time Florida was back at home in a Cup final since beating Edmonton last year in a decisive Game 7 to hoist Lord Stanley's Cup. And last night, they seem like they are on track to do that for a second consecutive season. A 6-1 beatdown, a 6-1 onslaught in what has been, at least through the opening 2 games up above the border, a highly competitive series. Each game 1 and game 2 saw at least 1 overtime session. Last night wasn't even close. Florida scores multiple goals in all 3 periods to rout Edmonton in a dominant 6-1 victory.
Yeah, that was an absolute blasting here. And you wanted to see how these two teams would come out in a game number 3 because, once again, you take that 2-1 series lead, you're going to have a vice grip on the series, particularly if it is the Panthers who had home ice advantage after winning a game in Edmonton. And they did that last night in spades. 6-1 final, an absolutely smoke job from the start.
And we saw DRS as that final picture displayed almost a full-line melee in that third period. Edmonton saying after the game they weren't really flustered or ruffled by the Florida Panthers. I'm not so sure. The Oilers committed 21 penalties last night as a team. Not a dazzling performance for Donnie's Canadian team. Florida was a minus 146 home money line favorite. They make good on that number. And for our third consecutive game, all 3 in this 2025 Stanley Cup final, a total of 6.5 does push to the over. How about some NFL news, DRS? The Cincinnati Bengals get rid of their leading tackler and one of their defensive captains the last few seasons in Jermaine Pratt yesterday, a third-round pick out of NC State back in 2019. Pratt has spent all 6 years of his NFL career leading that Bengals defense. And for a Cincy defense, DRS, that was atrocious in 2024, you get rid of the guy that had 143 tackles, by far the most as a part of that defensive unit. Interesting move by the Bengals in what has been a wildly head-scratching offseason for Cincinnati.
I guess if you pay 2 wide receivers and a quarterback, you have no money for the rest of the team, which is completely false. I don't know who's going to play defense for the Cincinnati Bengals. Maybe not even Trey Hendrickson, who still wants his money. And if not, he wants to be moved on from. The Bengals, we have some interesting topics on them. That is going to be a fun team to bet. Why? Yeah. The defense won't stop anybody, and the offense is going to be not stopped by anybody.
Every total is going to be 49.5 and above, and Cincinnati's probably going over in 13 of 17 games next season around the National Football League. A big day in Beantown. For the first time at Fenway Park, Roman Anthony gets called up to the bigs for the Boston Red Sox. The number 1 prospect in baseball makes his MLB debut. Not great at the dish. He was hitless and did have a costly error out in right field, but did record an RBI on a ground out. The Red Sox lost 10-8 in 11 innings to the red-hot Tampa Bay Rays, who won 15 of their last 19 games.
Bringing out the bats, the Rays there, but also on Anthony. Little league error in right field, right? A ground ball that was, a base hit, knocked through, went right through the legs, all the way back to the wall. A couple runs scored with 2 outs there. Never want to see that happen. The kid's going to be just fine. We didn't send Jack Kaggs down after his first couple games, and certainly not going to send this guy down either.
Started in right field, batted 5th for that Red Sox lineup last night. Boston now 4 games sub 500. For the first time this year, the Southern California rivals meeting up. That's the LA Dodgers and the San Diego Padres. Last night in San Diego, the Dodgers win in extras, holding on in the 10th for an 8-7 win over the Padres.
Yeah, Dodgers, man. Take a look at them yesterday. Thought those price points there were like, you know what? Anytime you get something close, just go ahead and take the Dodgers. The Dodgers able to upend it. And that lineup seems like a new superstar every single night can step up and drive in multiple runs. Man, that team is deep.
Andy Pages, Tommy Edman, who was critical last year in the World Series run, they continue to deliver, as did Chris Sale yesterday, DRS. Finally for Atlanta, the Braves snap a 7-game slide because of a masterful performance from the reigning NL Cy Young winner on the bump. 7 innings of 5-hit baseball, only allowing a single earned run and striking out 11 as the Braves go to Milwaukee, win 7-1, snapping that 7-game skid.
Yeah, didn't want to take that high price there on the Atlanta Braves, but I said just take one of these 2 guys to get at least 1 RBI. That was Drake Baldwin, who didn't get an RBI, but Matt Olson did a home run, had multiple RBI. That's a plus money night. That's the way I played it, Ben.
5-4 DRS, a final score that will be remembered forever in Murray, Kentucky, as the Murray State Racers win the Durham Super Regional, beating the host in Duke. The Racers become the 4th ever regional number 4 seed to reach the Men's College World Series. Murray State is headed to Omaha as the 8th and final team in the 2025 field for the first time in Murray State program history. A monumental upset and a Cinderella run here in early June for the Racers.
The only question is how fast that head coach is going to be signed up to a Power 5 team at this point. Congratulations to Murray State going to Omaha. How about that? Murray State. By the way, Murray State, I bet you Omaha is even more exciting than Murray State is, wherever that's at.
Murray, Kentucky, DRS. Beautiful area there in the state of Kentucky. But they are certainly excited to be headed to the Big O. The Men's College World Series field is set. 8 teams from 7 different conferences. The most leagues represented in the Big O since 2003. No repeat teams, DRS, for the 2024 field either. The first time that has occurred since 1957. College baseball in a spectacular place. Darius Garland, and not so much. He is set to miss 4 to 5 months, DRS, as he had surgery to repair a grand toe injury, otherwise known as a big toe injury. Costly for Garland, who was an all-star last season for the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Jason Tatum tore his Achilles, got surgery the next morning. Darius Garland probably said, you know what? I want to have a vacation here. Give me a full month before I get this toe fixed. And yeah, I might miss the start of the regular season. Shout out the NBA for that one.
He is going to miss at least a couple of months or at least some time to start the 2025-26 NBA campaign. More on the early line next.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of 15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
A change of venue for the first time in the 2025 Stanley Cup Final. A rematch of 2024 in the matchup that saw the Florida Panthers on home ice hoist Lord Stanley's Cup just a season ago. And with a dominant performance in Sunrise a night ago, the Panthers certainly looked the part of that reigning Stanley Cup champ and maybe the present one as well. An impressive and decisive victory, DRS, to take a 2-1 series advantage over the Edmonton Oilers in game number 3. 6-1 the winner for Florida, who scored multiple goals in each of the 3 periods, including opening up a 2-0 lead after the opening 20 minutes. Sam Bennett tickled the twine for the 3rd consecutive game in this series. Florida's leading scorer throughout this playoffs and the entirety of the Stanley Cup postseason now has 14, and Florida has a 2-1 series lead over your Canadian team, who committed 21 penalties last night, DRS. Are you flustered by what you saw out of the Panthers in game number 3?
How about 35 total penalties? And also understand this, when the game starts to get out of reach, that's when guys start to take liberties, and the refs understand that, and they start to call penalties, and that's really what happens here. But absolute, ram job, I should say, from the beginning, because here's what happens. You get into your own building, what do you want from an opposing team? I need to quiet this crowd down and eventually start to turn this crowd against its home team, which means score a goal or two early, take the crowd out of it. That didn't happen right away. And my goodness, like Brad Marchand, he doesn't know he's going to retire or not retire. The guy's damn near the best player on the ice on a night-to-night basis in the playoffs. It's just what he's done throughout his entire career. And he gets the party started with scoring within a minute of this game to really set it on its edge. A 6-1 final, which was really surprising to me. But you know how you make it a 6-1 final? Give up a goal in front of the first minute here and let that crowd get into it right off the bat. 2-0 by the end of the first period. Even though you got an Edmonton goal right away to start the second period, they're back in it on the power play. It just wasn't enough. Too much firepower for the Florida Panthers last night. Look at that, BWS. Hey, all right, so 6-1 final last night as it was. Now understand this. When you're looking from a hockey game, and I say this by saying the first 2 games of the series, 1-1 up in Edmonton. So you say, all right, well, I need to get back into Florida here and say, let's see if we can steal it. We even had Tom Vecchio on with us yesterday. It's like, the price points of this game are quite low, and maybe it's the best thing to just take the plus money on the Edmonton Oilers because of how we think this series is going to play out, Ben, and how we think it might go 7 games. Well, it's never a good sign when you're down 2-0 at the end of the first period, 4-1 by the end of the second, and then you dump in 2 power play goals there in the third period just to extend it up to 6-1 to sort of send that shot across the bow. We know Edmonton is going to recover from that, but understand this. Boy, oh boy, man, all that mojo and overtime win from game number 1. You lose game number 2 in overtime. You get whitewashed in game number 3. That's not a good sign here for the Edmonton Oilers, who, again, don't have home ice advantage anymore at this point.
It's a really good point, DRS, because this series has been highly competitive. Our first 2 games of this 2025 Cup Final went to an extra session. The OT winner from Leon Draisaitl to open up the Stanley Cup, a reversal of last year when Edmonton dropped in that 0-3 hole before winning 3 consecutive games to force that winner-take-all Game 7 back in Sunrise. That was positive for the Oilers, but then, of course, in game number 2, 2 overtimes, Brad Marchand, the winner, scored the first goal of Game 3, and frankly, it was not tightly contested last night. It was not competitive. And despite the 5-goal margin, you also saw an Edmonton team that resorted to violence and physicality because they were so frustrated by Florida and the result. If you are an Edmonton backer, last night I think was a precarious sight in game number 3. The Oilers were the slight Stanley Cup favorite entering this set, minus 125. They got higher than $2, minus 225 after the OT winner in game 1. They lost game 2 on home ice. The Panthers take back home ice advantage entering Sunrise. And yesterday, DRS, just a minus 118 series outright favorite to hoist that cup once again entering game 3. A 5-goal win. That's a minus 260 price now on Florida to go back-to-back as the Cup champs.
And even higher now at minus 265, and that price is growing certainly for a reason. A 2-1 series advantage is a major advantage in a 7-game series, particularly when you wrestled home ice advantage now back into your category with a game number 4 that's still into your building. Understand this, when we open up the series, as you said, a slight money line favorite to the Edmonton Oilers. They won game 1. That rose up. We're getting that plus 180 or so price here on the Florida Panthers. I felt like that was a pretty good buy opportunity. And even heading into game number 3, you saw it sort of an even pass. It was like, you know what? I don't know if I want to take Edmonton here as a slight underdog just yet. And even after that 6-1 final, I don't find myself saying like, all right, now, regardless, because you could have lost 1-0 or 15-1, a loss is still a loss. But that plus 215 is not as advantageous as I saw that plus 180 after game number 1 when the Florida Panthers had lost. I do think the Panthers are a better team, and it's tough to come back on the Oilers. That would be a true zigzag mode for you there. Say, you know what? Now I like Edmonton. After getting pasted 6-1, they'll settle in and have a better game in game number 4. Minus 265 on the Panthers. Do I want to take that? No, but I do think they win the series. So whatever that price point is, it's probably going to be a winner.
Yeah, theoretically, DRS, that is the largest underdog price we have seen in this Cup final, but does it present value? I agree with you, not so much. Notice what is still the most likely outcome for this 2025 Cup final to do the same as 2024 and go the distance. But we thought this would be back and forth. It should be no surprise that the Panthers take advantage on home ice in Game 3. But I think the way that our third game of the Cup final played out last night puts that idea of seeing the entire duration of the Stanley Cup final certainly in question. And for the first time in this series, we have a new favorite to win the Conn Smythe Award. It's not playoff Bob, Sergei Bobrovsky, the netminder for Florida. It's Sam Bennett, who has 4 goals in this series. He has scored in all 3 games. He has 14 in total throughout this postseason run for the Panthers. That's the most throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yeah, so, and again, you're looking at maybe who's going to win this, obviously Stanley Cup final, which team do you want to bet? Maybe you say, look at, you know what, I'm going to take a couple flyers on the Edmonton guys at much higher prices, like Leon Draisaitl, as compared to what that plus money price would be for just the Oilers to win the Stanley Cup. I don't know if the Oilers can win it now. I got to tell you, after a 6-1 thrashing like that, it's going to be tough to get back up off the carpet there for Game 4, but they got to get up off the carpet or else it's probably done.
Game number 4 tomorrow night in Sunrise. More around MLB next.
It'll be interesting to see what the Knicks do, but the Knicks are at a point now where they don't have to blow it up. They may still do so, and they have a right to do so, but with trading the 4 first-round picks and the pick swap for Mikal Bridges, the Knicks don't have a lot of room in regards to actual picks to throw at people.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
No one is going to pick Indiana. No one's going to pick Indiana to make it close, honestly. Like, you could get tremendous odds if you pick OKC in 7.
I think that taking the series over 5.5 games, the last 2 NBA Finals series ended in 5. I think this one goes 6. I think the Thunder will get the job done, but I think the Pacers are just too strong of a team and too talented of a team and too deep of a team to lose in 5 or fewer games.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The Knicks really got past that playoff dragon for them that really stood in their way. So for the New York Knicks to be the Celtics and then an outright favorite to win the Eastern Conference Finals, that's where the disappointment is.
The goalposts got moved, right? Because when you went into the Celtics series, a lot of Knicks fans said they weren't going to be this. I'll say this is more unprecedented than the 99 run when they were the 8th seed.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Face. It's the new face. New face of what? The hell are you talking about? Like seriously. Oh, the new face of the NBA, Anthony. Yeah, okay. You know what I mean? Like, really? Guy's got 2 shots. You're the face of the NBA. Slow down. He's a good player. I've always thought the whole face of the NBA thing was comical. You want him to be the face of the NBA because you don't like it that all the other faces of the NBA aren't American.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Nine games on a Monday around Major League Baseball for us to recap for you here on this Tuesday morning. In a big day, DRS, despite only 9 games in Boston, we saw 5 of our 9 reach extra innings that included Fenway Park. But not just because we saw free baseball, but because of the first game of Roman Anthony's MLB career. The number one prospect in all of the sport called up for the first time to make his MLB debut yesterday in front of the Beantown faithful there at Fenway. It wasn't the most stellar debut for Roman Anthony, but still, you can see there is some promise, and it wasn't the greatest result for the Red Sox, who do lose in that 10th inning, or in extras at the very least, 10-8 to the Tampa Bay Rays. 11 innings in total yesterday. The Rays are red hot. Now 36-30. Tampa has won 15 times in its last 19 games. The Red Sox fall 4 games below 500, kind of spoiling that debut of Roman Anthony, part of the big three of the young generation for this Boston club.
Yeah, I don't really care about the wins and losses right now. I just like what Boston's doing. So we're pretty much a lifeless team this year. Where are they going to go? Is it going to be Rafael Devers? He doesn't want to play certain positions. They get some key guys injured there as free agents that came over. And then you're saying, all right, well, we're not doing well at the plate. Let's bring some of the young guys up. Good for them, because you do look at those 3 players and you just want to see them mature, because it can only help at this point. Now, if you are a high net rookie, as let's just say, coming up to Major League Baseball, the expectations are high, especially after hitting a 500-foot home run in your last minor league baseball game. You go up to the majors, it doesn't work out all that well. You take the first loss here. He'll be just fine. Got the RBI ground out late in that game here. Did get a walk, but the error was a tough one, because sometimes you're like, okay, it's the second baseman with an error, hard hit ball, comes up with a low throw to first base. The guy's safe. You live with that. But that's one of those rollers into the outfield, gets through the wickets there, 2 outs here, a run scores there, leading to another run. Never a great scene. But if you're a Boston Red Sox fan, you're excited that this kid is finally up to the majors, because if you were watching any parts of social media, anywhere around the Red Sox, everybody was saying, hey, let's keep the guy down. 4 for 5 last night, 500-foot home. Keep the guy down as long as you can, because obviously he's not ready for Major League Baseball action. It's good to see your top prospect and the best prospect in baseball. Get him up to the majors. That's why he's the top prospect. Come on now.
0 for 4 yesterday, hitless in his debut. As you saw, he batted 5th. He started in right field. That costly error in the 5th inning that did result in a run for Tampa in a game that, of course, went to extras. Each and every scoring opportunity is very costly. But Roman Anthony did record the first ribby of his MLB career in the home half of the 9th, as Boston needed a couple of runs to even force those extra innings. The big 3 DRS entering this season for the Sox. A ton of excitement. Christian Campbell, who's been up for some time. Marcelo Meyer, who has been up for some time. It was Marcelo Meyer, of course, that kind of led to some of the conversation around Rafael Devers and all of that stuff that we had back in spring training and earlier in the offseason. All 3 of those guys in the lineup yesterday for Boston. 5, 6, 7. Anthony, Campbell, Meyer, in that order. You can see the young generation for the Sox on display. Again, did not lead to a win yesterday. And the Sox are now 4 games sub 500 this season. But we noted Jack Caglianone's price to an American League Rookie of the Year when he was called up. Jacob Wilson of the Athletics, still the favorite at minus 550. Jackie Caggs, second best price at plus 1,500. Roman Anthony now third best number DRS at a 16-1 price. Again, the aged Jacob Wilson, a staunch and hefty favorite at minus 550. But those other 2 guys who have been called up in the last week, now in the mix at the very least.
Yeah, just got to get hot for a week or two. Some of these young kids, you can really start to turn the screws there on some of those odds here at the FanDuel Sportsbook. But understand this, too. I think the Red Sox are in a pretty good spot. You're trying out some of these young kids to see how they can do. Wilyer Abreu, one of the better baseball players here, and certainly not an aging veteran, to say the least. He was put on the IL, and as well as you're waiting for Alex Bregman to get back, you get those 2 guys back, and you have some of these young kids playing extremely well. That's a fun future. And sometimes, as a fan base, you're willing to deal with mediocrity for a time being, but mediocrity with old, aging veteran players gets on fans' nerves. If you're a little bit mediocre, but breaking in some cats that you think are going to be some of the best players in your franchise over the next 2 to 3 seasons, that's fun. So if you're a Boston Red Sox fan, you got to be watching these games. And yes, you want to win more than you lose. Don't get me wrong. But the fact that you're bringing up some of this great young talent from the minor league system to mesh with those veterans, it's fun to see how it plays out.
32-36, the record for the Red Sox. But we're not even at the middle part of June just quite yet. And Boston is only 4.5 games out of a wild card spot. They could really turn things around when the young guys get some licks and Alex Bregman returns as well. More around the big next.
It'll be interesting to see what the Knicks do, but the Knicks are at a point now where they don't have to blow it up. They may still do so, and they have a right to do so, but with trading the 4 first-round picks and the pick swap for Mikal Bridges, the Knicks don't have a lot of room in regards to actual picks to throw at people.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Plenty of takeaways from Yankees-Dodgers where LA sent the message on Saturday, and the only way the Yankees could salvage it was somehow beating Yamamoto, and they did.
You're staring a sweep in the face, and after losing the World Series, knowing what the opponent is, you know what the narrative would have been on Sunday Night Monday. Oh, the Yankees get swept by the Dodgers.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple 18.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
A 9-game slate around Major League Baseball on a Monday, and some teams that we consider to be National League contenders. One certainly still is. The other, not so much, needing to snap some long losing skids on a Monday and turning to their aces to help them do just that. We start in Milwaukee, where the Brewers were playing host to Chris Sale and the Atlanta Braves. Sale, the reigning National League Cy Young winner, went out there and absolutely shoved for Atlanta, who had lost 7 consecutive games, entering in 14 of its last 17 before a Monday evening in Milwaukee. The Braves were still a pretty hefty favorite, DRS, greater than $1.50 on that money line, making good on that ticket, and Chris Sale delivers when Atlanta desperately needed it. The Braves snapped that 7-game skid with a 7-1 win. 7 innings of work out of Chris Sale, just 5 hits, only a single earned run, and struck out 11. A huge, huge victory for the Braves. They're still 9 games sub 500, but at least they snapped the 7-game slide.
Exactly. Here's what you want to see. The Braves winning a baseball game. That's key. Yes, it is. But also understanding the bats have to come alive and against bad pitchers like Aaron Savali. They really didn't do that last night. They really capitalized on the bullpen late, which is still a good sign. Yeah. Like if you're saying, all right, 7-1, woo, we love that victory. Well, you were down 1-0 entering into the 5th inning with another dead offensive performance before you placed 3 runs in the 5th, then tacked on 2 in the 8th and 2 more in the 9th to give you those 7 runs and 11 hits overall. Maybe this can be a building block for the Braves, but these are the expectations when Chris Sale's the mound. You expect him to pitch well against a team that doesn't hit all that well, and you expect your lineup to finally come through against a pitcher that's not all that good. Everything happened last night that should have for the Braves in that 7-1 victory. And as we handicapped it yesterday, I didn't want to lay minus 180 on the Braves moving forward. Right. A couple RBI props worked out last night, so maybe we'll see the Braves, who again, Ronald Acuna Jr. hitting .305 since coming back into that lineup. Only went 1 of 3 last night, but scored 2 runs and 2 walks as well. Setting the table for the lineup is always a good sign, and Acuna did that last night.
Certainly so, DRS. If you are looking for those optimistic signs for Atlanta, Chris Sale absolutely dealing on the bump. And when you needed some offense to finally be generated, when Sale was going out there with an incredible outing, you got it out of a couple of your big players in that top of the fifth. Ronald Acuna Jr., a solo shot. Matt Olson, a two-run homer for Atlanta, put the Braves in front. They added on some offense just a little bit later. So Atlanta snaps that 7-game slide. They are 28-37, still 9 games out of what would be a wild card spot currently in the National League. The Phillies turned to Zach Wheeler, but they weren't a minus 175, minus 190 favorite at home, even against the best team in the National League Central, that being the Chicago Cubs, only minus 130. And Donnie, you made mention of it in breaking down this game yesterday. The Phils really can't hit right now. On that 5-game slide, Philadelphia had scored just a single run in 4 of the 5 L's consecutively. And despite Wheeler going out there and having a great outing, 6 innings of work, only allowing a single earned run. And although when he left the game, Philly was in front, we needed to see extra innings yesterday, 11 innings to be exact, at the bank. The Phils were down in the 11th. They got 2 runs in the RBI walk-off winner, courtesy of Brandon Marsh. Philadelphia snaps their own 5-game slide with a 4-3 win in 11.
I mean, here's what's the problem with the Phillies right now. With that lineup, they should be much more powerful. They're just not. Yes, they won the game 4-3, and you'll take that. But similar to many Phillies games that we've watched, Cubs get the solo home run in the first. The Phillies actually had the lead by the end of 5. Wheeler's doing very well. They pull Wheeler, a home run given up by the bullpen right away, and you can't get base hits in timely fashion. Now, here's where the Phillies lucked out a little bit here in my mind. You get to the 10th inning. You get a hold from your reliever. It's like, okay, we just got to score a run, man on second base. The fact that the Phillies didn't bunt in the 10th inning and cost themselves to get first and second with nobody out after a walk to Schwarber, a ground ball double play for Alec Boehm, nobody gets through that lineup there, and you say, you know what? You can't have that. So at least they recognized in Major League Baseball, it's okay to bunt. And bunting leads to victories and extras. So what did they do after they needed to score some runs here in the 11th inning? They bunted twice in that inning. Wow, look at that. Put pressure on the defense. Both of those guys reached base and led to the game-winning hit there later in that game. Who was it? The game-winning hit was
Brandon Marsh.
Marsh, excuse me. Comes into that game as a pinch hitter late, which was a good move for them. But at the same time, 16 hits, 4 runs. You had one extra base hit. You had 16 hits in Citizens Bank Ballpark on a warm night. You had 1 extra base hit. Come on now, that's ridiculous.
9 of 10 Philadelphia had lost entering yesterday. In those 9 losses, DRS, they had scored more than 3 runs just twice. They got 4 yesterday, but it took 11 innings to see those 4 runs. They do, though, escape with a win, snapping that 5-game slide. When you look at the Chicago Cubs, they lost their weekend set against the Tigers. They had won 7 consecutive series prior to this previous weekend, but against teams that really were either 500 or worse entering yesterday. Good day for the Rook, though, DRS, in Philadelphia. Otto Kemp, who was called up over the weekend, the first base knocks of his career. He was 3 of 5 at the dish yesterday and did score a run. That's a good sign, at least offensively, for the Fightins.
Yeah, you got to get some of these guys just to come through because Trey Turner, even though he went 1 for 4 yesterday, low with his batting average just below 300. Schwarber's not doing all that well right now. He's down to a 250. You're waiting on Harper to come back with that injury. Not enough power in that lineup. And finally, Kemp does provide it. But again, Kemp got 3 singles, right? So you're looking for those power numbers to certainly shoot up at this point. And understand this, Kemp needs to stay up here and play because I'm just tired of that rotation in the outfit that hasn't worked. Even Max Kepler has really been struggling. You sign him to a decent number, a professional hitter. That's hitting 207 on the season. You're getting nothing outside of Schwarber when he has to start in the outfield. You are getting nothing from that outfield at all.
So let's take a look at where the National League race stands right now. Of course, the Dodgers winning yesterday in San Diego in extra innings, knocking off their Southern California and divisional rivals in the first matchup between the two this year. Still remain the incredibly short favorite to win the National League. The Dodgers yesterday, courtesy of that win in extras, the 3rd team now around the NL to reach 40 wins alongside the Cubs, who lost in Philadelphia, and the Mets, who had the day off. Plus 140 for LA, a nickel longer DRS, but still plus 140. The Phils remain with the exact same number at 6-1 before the year got started on opening day, and where things stand currently. Courtesy of the win and snapping that 5-game slide, Philadelphia is 38-28. It hasn't been great baseball the last 2 weeks or so for the Phils, but they still are tied for the 4th best record around the National League alongside the San Francisco Giants. The most positive movement, DRS, we start positive and then we'll get to the negative of the Atlanta Braves. The most positive movement, of course, the Mets, $2.50 off. New York, best record in the National League, 42 wins, 4-game lead atop the National League East. And the Cubbies have seen that price nearly slashed in half. 12-1 is now plus 650. The Cubs also a 4-game advantage atop the NL Central.
Yeah, everybody behind the Dodgers is going to be jockeying for position throughout the summer because, once again, it's not as if you say, I got to win my division. You got to win in the playoffs. And in order to win in the playoffs, you got to have good starting pitching, and you got to be healthy, and your bats 1 through 9 have to be hot at the right time. Those are the expectations here. So whether or not the Cubs win 4 or 5 games in a row, the Phillies lose 4 or 5 games in a row, those numbers are going to bounce back and forth because the expectations are those teams will be in the playoffs, and how do they line up? Frontline starters versus a hot-hitting lineup, and you go from there at this point. The Dodgers, regardless of record, again, unless they implode and lose 19 of 20, they are always going to be in that leadership spot there on the FanDuel Sportsbook to win the pennant.
13-1, the price on the Padres. It has dropped by a few bucks, although San Diego kind of evening out after a very hot start to this MLB season. The biggest movement against anybody, DRS, that would be the Braves, plus 550, second best number to win the National League pennant entering the season, now 18-1. Again, they ended their 7-game losing skid yesterday, but still 28-37, 9 games out even of a playoff spot potentially in the NL.
Yeah, it's brutal. It is. And maybe look, you can't win 7 in a row, Ben, until you win the first game of that 7-game streak there. So maybe they got a little bit in the tank yesterday, an easy walk-away winner with their ace on the mound. Let's see what they can do today.
Listen, there's a lot of time left this summer for the Braves to turn it around, but turn it around and do so very quickly is what Atlanta has to do. More around the Bigs, more scores for Monday next.
Hey sports fans, here's a tip to keep in mind the next time you make your betting picks. According to research, home field advantage is no joke, especially in those playoffs. In the NBA and the NFL postseason, the home team typically has a 64% shot at victory. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
I got a feeling Pittsburgh's going to the Super Bowl. I got a feeling there is no chance they're going to the Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. I'm just kidding.
They're still not expected to have over 8.5 wins. They're still not expected to have a winning record. Now, I know things could change for the next 24 hours. I get that. But everyone expected Aaron Rodgers to sign with him. He's going to sign with him.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Plenty of takeaways from Yankees-Dodgers where LA sent a message on Saturday, and the only way the Yankees could salvage it was somehow beating Yamamoto, and they did.
You're staring a sweep in the face. And after losing the World Series, knowing what the opponent is, you know what the narrative would have been on Sunday night, Monday. Oh, the Yankees get swept by the Dodgers.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rhythm. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of 15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The first meeting this year between the Southern California and divisional rivals, the San Diego Padres and the LA Dodgers. Last night in San Diego, we needed extras in a high-scoring affair, but the Dodgers take game number 1 against the Pods this year, winning in 10 innings, 8-7 over San Diego. DRS, you mentioned this early on. It's hard to beat this Dodgers team. Freddie Freeman started the game with some offense yesterday. Shohei Ohtani active at the dish. And then you have guys like Tommy Edman, who was great last year, the World Series run in the postseason for LA, continuing to deliver in a large way in 2025. And Andy Pages is having a career year for Los Angeles as well. The Dodgers have so many different angles of attack, and they showed all of them yesterday to edge out San Diego with the 8-7 win.
Yeah, it's another big win for the Dodgers. What they do, they'll outlast you. They'll have better bullpen. Might have better starting pitching. But the one thing you know for sure is, regardless of how talented your lineup is, that 1 through 9 lineup for the Los Angeles Dodgers is ultra talented. Even Kim in that spot, he had maybe 25 games under his belt, hitting .410 out of the 9-hole. You have so many guys like Tommy Edman, not having a great season at the plate at .249, but in big moments he'll be able to drive in runs. Shohei Ohtani at the top of that roster here, and also you take a look at Mookie Betts fighting his way through injury. Freddie Freeman, by the way, hitting .351 on the season now. They just come at you in waves for the Dodgers, and it happened last night in that victory. And it always goes back to the notion of, hey, if you got a spread that's comparable in a Dodgers game, you just roll the dice with the Dodgers. You probably come up aces more times than not here. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it really is, DRS. And right now, the starting pitching for LA, much like that run last October into early November, is the issue. Tyler Glass now on the IL. Blake Snell, the offseason acquisition, on the IL. Roki Sasaki on the IL. And Shohei Ohtani delivering at the dish. And still, the NL MVP minus money favorite has not got back to the bump. They're hoping that happens sometime around the All-Star break, about a month from now. So the Dodgers get a victory yesterday against the San Diego Padres. First matchup this year between the two teams, a 3-game set during the midweek that continues today out in San Diego, and a 4-game set starting next Monday, so a week from yesterday at Chavez Ravine in LA. The Dodgers now 40-27, joining the Mets and the Cubs as the 3 teams around the NL to reach that 40-win benchmark. For a Dodgers team that has just dominated the National League West. I think it's 11 divisional titles in the last 12 years. And with how optimistic the odds are for this super team, no surprise, DRS, to see a minus 900 price in favor of LA. But you would expect, if it's minus 900, it's not just odds optimism. It's a 4.5, 5, 6-game lead. They're only a game and a half in front of those San Francisco Giants, 2 games ahead of San Diego.
Yeah, because you take a look at that graphic and you're expecting the Giants. I don't want to say the Giants are playing over their head at 38-28, but you don't think that they're going to go toe-to-toe with the Los Angeles Dodgers down the stretch. The Padres have the talent to do that if they can stay healthy. The Diamondbacks just losing too many good players here, including Corbin Burns down for the year. We don't think they're going to have the longevity. So hence the projections of we are in the early parts of June. We still have a couple months left. The cream is always going to rise to the top. And the Los Angeles Dodgers, even if they do get injured, they'll make moves at the trade deadline to fortify that team. That's the expectations. Not on exactly what they're doing now, because as you said, it's not a 10-game runaway like you might see in another division with that type of price point at a minus 900. You just see the Dodgers and say, yeah, they have a couple games up. Even if they struggle for the next week, it doesn't matter. We're right around the corner from them winning 9 out of 10 games and extending that lead to 6, 7, or 8 games at this point. So understand this. There's a lot of money on the Dodgers, and if you want to get in on the Dodgers, you're going to pay even more money at this point right now, even with only a 2-3 game lead here.
You're not going to find a great price on the Dodgers that really looks wonderful from the odds perspective. Obviously, I do not recommend laying 900 for a team that only has a game and a half lead currently in its division. Speaking of those Diamondbacks, you see there, sub 500, 32-34, swept over the weekend after sweeping the Atlanta Braves to get back to 500. What a wild game it was late night in Phoenix for the D-backs, DRS, against the Seattle Mariners. The Diamondbacks blew a 4-0 lead in the ninth. The Mariners rallying to force extra innings. Then in the 11th, Josh Naylor, a walk-off grand salami. So the D-backs win 8-4, 32-34, the record for the Snakes right now.
Yeah, I got to say, that's a tough beat there. If you're sitting on the under at 4-0 entering into the top of the ninth inning, you feel like you got a pretty good shot to win that. And then you're saying to yourself, like, oh, man, if you had a team total for the Arizona Diamondbacks, man, it stinks I got stuck at 4, only to plate 4 runs in the top of the ninth to get the extras. And then you're saying, I need at least one more run here to get over it. And you get the grand slam here to knock that over. 8-4 final, 22 total hits in that game. Good offensive performance, but a lot of that offense really came late.
The Reds were the team to sweep the Diamondbacks over the weekend. Cincy now has made it a 4-game win streak to get above 500 with a 7-4 victory yesterday in the in-state showdown against the Cleveland Guardians. 34-33. Now that record on Cincinnati. I need 80 wins out of the Reds. I hope they can get there. How was Wade Miley yesterday? I got the win. 5 innings of work, only allowing 3 earned. He walked more people than he struck out, DRS. 4 walks registered, only 2 Ks, but still a victory in his second start of the season for Cincy.
Yeah, I thought we would get the over 4.5 in that game, even though we told you that it wasn't a great lineup going against lefties, but Miley, not a great pitcher. They get 3 runs by the end of the 3rd inning. You should be on cruise control at that point. Just weren't able to plate very many runs after only scoring 1 time in the 7th inning. They lose that game 7-4. You can't be losing against Wade Miley, man. Come on now. But again, Miley, who they probably think, hey, that's a pretty good start. Put him on the mound again against a team that can actually shred left-handed pitching. Then we'll have some fun.
The Guardians, 3 games above 500, 34-31. The Tigers were not in action yesterday. They still have the best record in MLB, 43-24, 7 games in front of Minnesota. In the American League Central, 8 games in front of the Cleveland Guardians. How about the Pittsburgh Pirates? They scored 10 runs yesterday, DRS, inside PNC Park. They're now on a win streak after sweeping the Philadelphia Phillies over the weekend. The Blue Jays winning extras in St. Louis. And did you see the catch of the year in the bigs from A's center fielder Denzel Clark in Anaheim? Oh, my God. What a play it was out of the Athletics center fielder who lived up to his team's name. Very athletic. I think taking away a home run from Nolan Shanwell? Yeah, maybe something like that. NBA news next.
Guess what, golfers? Vegas isn't just casinos and pool parties. In fact, there are 50 golf courses within a 15-mile radius of the Strip, all boasting beautiful desert oasis landscapes. So, if you're looking for a break from the action, consider hitting the links. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
No one is going to pick Indiana. No one's going to pick Indiana to make it close, honestly. Like, you could get tremendous odds if you pick OKC in 7.
I think that taking the series over 5.5 games, the last 2 NBA Finals series ended in 5. I think this one goes 6. I think the Thunder will get the job done, but I think the Pacers are just too strong of a team and too talented of a team and too deep of a team to lose in 5 or fewer games.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
We end out this opening hour live right here on a Tuesday morning on the early line on SportsGrid with some NBA news that does not pertain to the 2025 NBA Finals. Game 3 tomorrow night still in Indianapolis between the Pacers and the Thunder, a team we thought might be at this stage, DRS. That was the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, the Cleveland Cavaliers, who for a third consecutive season, even with Coach of the Year Kenny Atkinson, this time around got bounced in round number 2 in 5 games by Indiana. And part of that was because they were not fully healthy, and that we learned gets even worse. For Cavs point guard and all-star this year, Darius Garland. He had injury. He had an injury with his great toe. That is his big toe. He underwent surgery and is now set to miss 4 to 5 months for the Cavaliers, certainly putting the start of his 2025-26 NBA campaign in question.
No, that's never a good sign here, right? Because what do you usually like about the offseason, Ben? You use that to sort of get your body right, which technically he is, but also improve your game. You get into rhythm, so by the time you show up to training camp, what actually happens at this point? You're ready to go for the season. Now we're going to have that delay on the summer, which means you're going to miss 4 to 5 months, and that means 4 to 5 months of, I can't really work out all that hard. Now, he's a professional, should be able to come back. It's a long NBA season, yes, but also understand this point, Ben, that I talked about to open the show. Boy, I would have liked to seen it when you get, I think they got, knocked out of the playoffs May 13th, May 14th, somewhere in that range. So roughly a month goes by before you get that injury taken care of. That's what I don't like about it, because you could have saved yourself 3 to 4 extra weeks by getting that done right away when you already knew you had that toe injury. I don't know if they tried the old, let's give us a little bit of rest, and it just didn't respond over the past month. I understand that, but boy, I would have liked to seen that getting taken care of much earlier than what it actually has, where he got the surgery yesterday.
Darius Garland missed 4 of the 9 total games the Cavs played throughout this playoff run. Did not look great, DRS, early on against the Miami Heat, and of course sat out the final 2 games of that series, the opening 2 games in the second round against Indiana. Never fully looked 100% healthy out there. Averaged better than 20 points per game this year and nearly 7 dimes to earn all-star honors for the second time in his young career in Cleveland. It's a very interesting now question, I guess, DRS, and a forecast for the Eastern Conference entering next season. Jason Tatum, of course, going to miss a considerable amount of time as he recovers from that torn Achilles injury. Darius Garland now out at least to start the year, it would seem, for the Cavs. Who's going to be the Eastern Conference favorite entering 2025-26? Is it the New York Knicks with a new head coach starting next season? Is it the Indiana Pacers, who have reached the Eastern Conference Finals 2 consecutive seasons and now, of course, playing in the NBA Finals for the first time in 2.5 decades? Is it Cleveland, still with Donovan Mitchell and some optimism, despite never getting farther than this second round the last 3 years? Is it still Jaylen Brown leading a resilient Boston side? Who do you think, DRS, is going to be booked as that odds favorite to win the Eastern Conference Championship entering next NBA campaign?
It's crazy to sort of think about that, too, because I know the Pacers will get disrespected again, but doesn't it feel like it's probably Cleveland followed by New York, and we don't really know what we're going to get out of Boston other than we might have to trade Porzingis and also Drew Holiday, and we have to wait on Jason Tatum to see if he's ever coming back next season? It can't be the Celtics. Yeah. So I probably would go either Knicks or Cavaliers next year for me.
I think it's probably going to be the New York Knicks. I'm not sure it's overly justified, but just based on attrition around them and how the outlook could play out for this following NBA season, I think the New York Knicks are going to get the benefit of the doubt, especially depending on the splashiness of this next head coaching hire for New York. We have CP the franchise joining us in hour number 2 to talk about the offseason outlook for his Knicks. We'll break it all down. How about some college basketball news on a Monday in June here on this Tuesday in early June? Awesome, baby! The Dickie V Invitational, the Dick Vitale Invitational is now official. On November 4th, 2025, that is Dickie V's 87th birthday, I believe, certainly his birthday. A marquee early season matchup in Charlotte between Duke and Texas. The Dick Vitale Invitational honoring one of the greats in college basketball.
Yep, it's beginning in November, the silly season as we get underway. Why not throw an aircraft carrier into that game and a hoop that goes up and down when you try to shoot three-point shots? Look, we all know college basketball season starts once the Super Bowl ends here. What are we doing early in the season, Ben? Come on now. Come on.
I mean, that's a great marquee matchup. DRS, the non-con slate around college hoops.
Cooper
with where
Flagg?
college basketball is. No, it'd be in the NBA. We wouldn't even know what he's doing in Dallas. Hour number 2 up next.